Welcome ladies and gentlemen, Tactical Lich here. A couple of videos ago I started showcasing some Vanguard shenanigans with the Skavens, and today we will be continuing that Vanguard theme over to other factions, namely the Lizard Boys right here, played by yours truly, a full army of Vanguard except the Spellcaster. The Skink Priest unfortunately do not have Vanguard deployment, but still on a Pterodon, it will be quickly moving forward to support the rest of the army. As for the front line, weird to say this, but skirmishing infantry, chameleon skinks will be our sole front line, backed up by a bunch of Tictaq'to riders, some of them on the far flank, led by Tictaq'to in the skies. Now, on the left flank here, there is a regiment of renowned pwoerful cohort, getting that Vanguard deployment as their regiment of renowned specialty. In the far corner, a surprise for our enemy, no doubt, the Geltbloom's Terror, Vanguard deployed feral carnosaur. Nobody expects such giant war beasts to be Vanguard deployed, and it will be striking our opponent from a surprising angle. Now, for our opponent here, Dark Elves, going for a pretty standard deployment with a lot of armor-piercing missiles, Ripper bolt throwers, and then the Dark Shots backed up by more armor-piercing anti-large missiles in the form of Scourge-Runner chariots. This kind of AP missile spams usually give the Dark Elves quite a bit of advantage over the large and bulky monsters of the Lizardmen. Protecting the missile core, we have some Dread Spears and Bleak Swords. In the middle of them, a slightly stronger backbone of infantry Black Corsairs, with Chill of Santa on the side, leading the army Malekith on Seraphon, providing a bunch of magic support as well. That's basically it for army builds. Now let's get some Vanguard action going. The Dark Elves have a bit of mistake over here, with the Reaper bolt throwers being positioned in front of the infantry line. Without any infantry screen, they're exposed to a bunch of chameleon skinks fire and will be taking massive damage. Now, this is not exactly a bad idea when you're dealing with Bastillodons with solar engines, because Reaper bolt thrower outranges those solar engine lasers, allowing your artillery to hit the Bastillodons while they can't actually hit your infantry. But with this time, with no infantry protection, the chameleon skinks were able to close in and destroy the Reaper bolt thrower crews. This forces my opponent to respond with Malekith and the Ravagers of Rakarth pushing forward. At the same time, all my forces around the map has been activated to strike my opponent's formations from every single angle. pwoerful cohort will be circling around the flank, hoping to hit the squishy underbelly of the Dark Elves formation. The Ripper Dactyls as well beelining straight for the Dark Elf missiles, the Dark Shards and the Ripper bolt thrower crews. In the front line, chameleon skinks chipping away the Dark Shards' health, even receiving support from the Skink Priest of Heaven with an upgraded Wind Blast. The Dark Shards will be taking massive damage in the process, and with a follow-up charge from the pwoerful cohort without any infantry to protect them, these Dark Shards are no doubt not long for this world. On the far side, the chameleon skinks are being ran down by the Ravagers of Rakarth. Due to the heavy armor, they can't do too much damage, but the more important thing is that the Rakarth's Ravagers are wasting a lot of ammo on these skirmishing infantry, not earning back its fellow, and for me, that is definitely a win, while the Reaper Dactyl Riders will be routing away a bunch of Reaper bolt thrower crew and also the Dark Shards thanks to their anti-infantry bonuses. Even the Skink Priest will be dropping into combat, hoping to quickly rout off these Reaper bolt thrower crew as soon as possible, while the Geltbloom's Terror will be surrounded by anti-large units being dragged down in melee combat. At the same time, Malekith dives into combat trying to fend off my Reaper Dactyls, giving Tictaq'to an opening to charge him. While all the armor piercing are slowly grinding down Malekith's HP, the presence of all these Dread Spears anti-large does make it a bit harder for my Ripper Dactyls to hang around, so I'll be quickly pulling them out from this fight soon. Though if it is just the infantry, the Ripper Dactyls can still fare reasonably well even when surrounded by superior numbers. Due to the armor piercing and anti-infantry bonus, Black Corsairs, who do not have the best melee defense, will be taking massive damage being hit by the Reaper Dactyl Riders, especially with their solid leadership right now activating Frenzy, providing extra buffs to their offensive power. Though the bad news is the Dark Shards are now able to turn around free from disruption, focus fire at my pwoerful cohort. They are currently distracted by the Chill of Sontar and some Bleak Swords, so I'll be pulling some Ripper Dactyls over, hoping to shut down those missiles once again. There's also a chameleon skink who was running away from the Bleak Swords on the far end earlier. They are now free to charge over and drag these Dark Shards into melee. On the far side here, Ravagers of Rekarth overextending trying to chase down the Chameleon Skinks will be isolated and shattered by a combination of double Ripperdactyls and Tictaq'to himself. Over here, the Poko Pack cohort has taken significant damage from the Dark Shards and also from Malekith, including a Soul Stealer. They will be pulling away from combat, allowing Malekith to be freed up and chase down my Gelbloom's Terror, tying it down so that it cannot continue their pursuit on the Chill of Sontar, trying to salvage this expensive War Hydra unit. But the problem is that all the units are scattered around the battlefield for the Dark Elves, and there is nothing, no mobility to protect them. This gives my Chameleon Skinks free reign to charge in and shut down, silence all these Dark Shards. Since they do have decent melee combat stats with 20 attacks, 22 defense, and more importantly, poison to debuff enemy melee stats. Though of course they can't really deal with actual melee infantry. Dread Spears successfully repelling the Chameleon Skinks, while the Black Corsairs who returned from routing can also slaughter all these skirmishing infantry in combat. At the same time, I rear-charged the Bleak Swords in a desperate attempt to rescue Gelbloom's Terror, but with the Stand Your Ground active, the Bleak Swords will hold with their leadership boost. And on top of that, the Soul Stealer draining away the health of the Gelbloom's Terror and the Pohopa cohort, denying my Ripperdactyl and Tictaq'to from engaging because I do not want them to enter the Soul Stealer area of effect. So that means the Pohopop cohort is routed, while the Gelbloom's Terror being charged by the Chill of Sontar is running low on health. But finally, the Soul Stealer effect has worn off, allowing Tictaq'to and his bodyguards to drop down onto Malekith. And Tictaq'to is buffed up through the roof right now with 124 defense, 79 attack. All thanks to Master of the Skies and Harmonic Convergence, Tictaq'to is destroying Malekith in melee combat with some help from the Ripperdactyls. At the same time, my Chameleon Skinks are chasing away the Dark Shards, and my Ripperdactyls hunting down some battered Dread Spears. While the Gelbloom's Terror are still holding, albeit barely thanks to its Regiment of Renown boosted leadership, and with Malekith surrounded by a whole bunch of Ripperdactyl riders, and the Bleak Swords not being in a great position to screen away enemy units, Malekith will be taking substantial damage, completely overwhelmed by the armor-piercing air force of the Lizardmen. Even the Gelbloom's Terror has stabilized its leadership thanks to the Cold-Blooded from the Skink Priest. With the Chill of Sontar and Malekith's Seraphon running low on health, the Druki's leadership finally collapsed, and the victory will belong to the Vanguard Lizards. Now that we're in the post-battle screen, let's talk about the tactics in this game. This is basically a different approach to a full Vanguard deployment. We don't bum rush our opponent with full melee troops, but instead we rely on a superior number of mobility to disrupt and distract my opponent's forces. Using the Chameleon Skinks, I captured the attention of enemy missiles as well as some of the melee infantry, Bleak Swords and Dread Spears. Some of them were busy chasing off my Chameleon Skinks and was not able to protect the backline, giving me chances to drop in with the Ripperdactyls and slaughter the artillery and missiles. At the same time, the Ravagers of Rekarth to focus on chasing off the Chameleon Skinks, they were not able to earn back too much value, being ravaged instead, overextending in the end, surrounded by Ripperdactyls, armor piercing and Tictaq'to. And with the missiles occupied by my mobility forces, my Pohopa cohort and the Gelbloom's Terror were able to charge in from an unexpected angle, avoiding most of the Dark Elves' armor-piercing firepower and strike at the Chill of Sontar from the back. So in the end, both the Pohopa cohort and the Gelbloom's Terror both earn some amazing value. The only thing that can really repel my Ripperdactyls is basically Malekith, but unfortunately he can't be at everywhere at once, while my Ripperdactyls, Chameleon Skinks, Pohopa cohort and the Gelbloom's Terror were just hitting the Dark Elf formations from all angles. And in the end, Malekith, losing most of his support, was isolated, surrounded by Ripperdactyls and of course Tictaq'to, as these flyers of the Lizardmen dominates the skies, earning back quite a bit of value. Most of their units are also intact. While Chameleon Skinks here not earning back too much value, some of them did regain their cost, but the most important part is that they took a lot of damage, absorbing the ammo on Rekarth's Ravagers, protecting the Ripperdactyls as they would not be targeted by those anti-large missiles. As for our opponent, the Dark Elf army here, none of these Dark Shards were able to perform due to those Ripperdactyls attack, and then Malekith here putting up a decent fight with the help of Soul Stealer and his great combat strength, but not quite enough to earn back his own value. Chew of Sontar did some nice damage, rear charging my Gelbloom's Terror in the end, but that's basically it. And then the Ripperdactyls got shut down early. Infantry of the Dark Elves have no good targets to engage as they got destroyed by the armor-piercing anti-infantry Ripperdactyls. And yeah, that's basically it for today's battle. I hope viewers you enjoy it, and if you want to see more of this content, remember to hit the like and subscribe to get updates for new videos. That's basically it for today's battle. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tictaq'to signing out.